I pulled up to the lake house I'd paid for. Jake chuckled and said, "We went last week. Without you, the gravel cracked beneath my tires as I slowly pulled into the driveway of the lake house. The sun had just begun to dip behind the hills, casting golden light over the shimmering water. I felt a brief flicker of excitement peace. Finally. After 6 brutal weeks of overtime, back-to-back meetings, and barely any sleep, I had earned this trip. I stepped out of the car, stretched my legs, and glanced at the house I'd rented. It was just as charming as it had looked online wooden. Deck, big windows, a dock that stretched out into the lake. I could already imagine the coffee I'd drink on the porch, the kayak rides, and finally having time to read that novel collecting dust on my nightstand. Then I heard laughter. My brow furrowed. I wasn't supposed to meet anyone here, at least not yet. I walked toward the back deck, suitcase still in hand. Jake was there. Jake, my best friend since freshman year of college. He sat in one of the Adirondack chairs, legs kicked up, beer in hand. Next to him were Claire and Will, a couple from our friend group. Their sunglasses, flip-flops, and half-finished wine bottles painted a picture I hadn't been invited to. "Jake," I said. Confused, he looked up, startled, then broke into a grin. "Oh, hey man," I blinked. "What ... are you doing here?" Jake stood up and stretched, totally unfazed. "We came up last week," he said casually, a smirk tugging at his lips. "You must have missed the group chat." "What do you mean, you came up last week?" I asked, voice rising. "We went to the lake house," he said, as if I were the one being slow. "Yeah, last weekend, it was a blast." I stared at him. "The lake house I booked. On my card, for this weekend." He shrugged. "We figured, why wait? We had a long weekend. You were always working, and the place was already paid for." My heart dropped into my stomach. "So you just ... used it without asking me." Claire looked up from her drink. "You're always so busy," Jake said. "It'd be fine. Besides, you weren't even answering texts." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't answering texts because I was swamped with work. That house this trip was supposed to be my reward. My break. My moment to reset. I had invited them to come with me, but they decided to go without me and they hadn't even told me. I bought the groceries Will offered, as if that made it even. I set my suitcase down slowly, trying to process everything. "You didn't think I deserved to know." Jake laughed again, like this was some awkward misunderstanding rather than a complete betrayal. "Don't be dramatic. It's not like we trashed the place. Everything's fine. It's not about the house," I said, my voice low and steady. "It's about you treating me like I don't matter." Jake's smile faltered. "Come on, man. You always take things too seriously." I turned and walked into the house without another word. The place reeked of leftover beer and greasy snacks. Towels were draped over the backs of chairs. The sink was full, and someone had left the back door wide open. My chest tightened. This was supposed to be my retreat. Instead, I'd walked into the aftermath of a party I wasn't invited to. What a place I paid for. I found a bedroom that looked less ransacked than the others and shut the door behind me. I sat on the bed and stared at the floor. I felt angry, hurt, but mostly I felt alone. How long had this been happening without me seeing it? Jake had always been the loud one, the planner, the connector. I trusted him to keep our friend group together. But now, I wondered if that trust had been misplaced all along. I replayed it over and over, his laugh, the casual way he brushed it off, the way none of them seemed to care that I'd been excluded. Later that night, I stepped outside. The stars shimmered over the lake, and the water was still. The only sounds were crickets and the occasional splash of a fish. The others had left, saying they were just wrapping up and letting me have it now. Letting me have it like they were the owners. I sat on the edge of the dock and took a deep breath. Oh, this was supposed to be healing. Maybe it still could be. I spent the next 2 days alone in the house, slowly reclaiming what I'd imagined. I went kayaking, made myself breakfast, cleaned up their mess, not for them, but for me. I finished my book. I even unplugged my phone for a while. By the time I packed to leave, I felt lighter, clearer. But when I got back to the city, I made a decision. I didn't answer Jake's calls. It's not the first time, not the fifth. When Claire texted, I sent a short reply. I need space. I hope you understand. I think, deep down, they knew why. A few weeks later, Jake showed up at my door. He was carrying a six-pack and that familiar, sheepish grin. "Thought we could talk?" he said. I didn't invite him in. Instead, I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "I messed up," he said quickly. "I shouldn't have gone without you. We all shouldn't have. But it wasn't personal." I nodded. "That's the problem. It wasn't personal. You didn't consider me enough to make it personal. You just did what was convenient for you." He hesitated. "We've been friends for a long time, man." "Yeah," I said. "I kept showing up for you, over and over. But now I realize friendship isn't about showing up for someone only when it's easy." He looked down. "I get that. I just didn't think you'd care this much." "That's the other problem," I said. "You didn't think at all." He left that night with a quiet apology, but no promises. And I didn't chase after him. Some friendships fade, others fall apart loudly, ours cracked quietly, in the spaces between missed calls and casual betrayals. It hurt, but not as much as it would have if I'd stayed quiet. If I'd let it slide. If I'd kept pretending that being treated like a backup plan was enough. Sometimes the real vacation isn't in the lake house or the weekend escape. It's in choosing yourself and realizing you don't owe your peace to people who never protected it. I had paid for the house, but the cost of their betrayal, that was on them.